I'm 72 years old, and I'm about to discover that my entire life has been a lie. What I do in the next 3 hours will either destroy my family or set me free. His car didn't go to any shelter. It went to a blue house I'd never seen before. If you've ever trusted someone who turned out to be a liar, hit subscribe. Only people like Frank won't. I need to tell you something about my husband. Something I should have figured out a long time ago. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table in Columbus, Ohio. The house smells like pine and cinnamon. The tree lights are twinkling in the living room. Everything looks perfect, normal, but I'm staring at Frank as he sleeps in his old recliner, and all I can think is, tomorrow morning, I'm going to follow him. Tomorrow morning, I'm finally going to find out where my husband really goes every Christmas. You see, for 50 years, 50 Christmases, Frank has disappeared for 3 hours. Every single time he says the same thing. He kisses my cheek, smiles that gentle smile, and says, "Going to volunteer at the St. Jude's shelter, honey. It's important to give back." And for 50 years, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He's Frank, my steady, dependable husband, the man who never forgot our anniversary, the father our kids adored, the grandfather who showed up to every school play and baseball game. But here's the thing about lies. They're like cracks in a foundation. At first, you don't notice them. Then one day, you step wrong, and the whole floor gives out beneath you. The cracks started small. Little things that didn't add up. He'd come home from volunteering without a single story. No mention of the people he helped. No dirt on his shoes. No smell of the shelter's industrial soup or donated coffee. Just a distant look in his eyes, like he'd been somewhere far away, somewhere I couldn't reach. Then there was the year I suggested going with him, 2003, I think. I said, "Frank, I'd love to help at the shelter too. We could go together?" You should have seen his face. Just for a second, maybe half a second, he looked panicked. Then he smiled and said, "Oh, honey, you work so hard all year. You deserve to relax on Christmas. Let me do this." I didn't push. I wish I had. The doubt started growing in my stomach like something cold and heavy. It kept me up at night, made me watch him more carefully, made me wonder what else I'd been too trusting to see. So last week, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called St. Jude's shelter. "Hi," I said to the woman who answered. "I'm calling about one of your volunteers. Frank Patterson? He's been coming every Christmas for decades." There was a pause. Then she said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't have any record of a Frank Patterson. Are you sure you have the right shelter?" I tried 3 other shelters in Columbus. None of them had ever heard of my husband. That's when I knew. The foundation wasn't just cracked. It was built on sand. Frank has been lying to me for 50 years. But why? Where does he go? What's so important that he'd look me in the eye, year after year, and lie? Part of me wanted to confront him right then. Storm into the living room, shake him awake, demand the truth. But I stopped myself, because what if it's worse than I think? What if the truth doesn't just hurt? What if it destroys everything? Our kids, Mark and Sarah, they worship their father. They see him as this pillar of integrity, this good, honest man. If I accuse him without proof, they'll think I'm paranoid, jealous, maybe even losing my mind. At 72 years old, I can't afford to be wrong. So I made a plan instead. Tomorrow morning, after the grandkids open their presents and the house smells like roast turkey, Frank will kiss my cheek and leave. And this time, I won't wave from the doorway. I'll get in my car. I'll follow him. I packed a small bag tonight while he was in the shower. A camera, a notepad, my car keys. I hid it in the hall closet, right behind the winter coats. My hands were shaking the whole time. Because here's what I'm really afraid of. What if I've wasted my entire life on a man who never loved me? What if every anniversary, every "I love you," every moment I thought was real? What if it was all a performance? I keep thinking about our wedding day. I was 22 years old, standing at the altar in my mother's dress. Frank looked at me and promised he'd never deceive me, never betray me. that we'd build a life together based on trust. I believed every word. I think about 1985. I was working double shifts as a nurse, coming home with my feet aching and my back screaming. Frank would be there, making dinner, asking about my day. He'd rub my shoulders and say, "You're amazing, Carol. I don't know how you do it." I thought he was proud of me. Now I wonder, was he even paying attention? Or was his mind somewhere else? With someone else? The questions are eating me alive. Frank stirs in his recliner. For a moment, I think he's waking up. But he just shifts, pulls the blanket tighter, and mumbles something in his sleep. I lean forward, straining to hear, and my blood runs cold. He said a name. Not my name. He said, "I'm sorry, Linda." Who is Linda? My hands grip the edge of the table. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. I stare at my husband, this man I've slept next to for 50 years, and realize I don't know him at all. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, I stop being the trusting wife who looks the other way. Tomorrow, I get answers. Morning comes too fast. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard him whisper that name. Linda. Now it's Christmas morning. The grandkids are here, tearing through wrapping paper. Mark and Sarah are drinking coffee, laughing. The turkey is in the oven. Everything is exactly how it should be, except nothing is right. Frank kisses me on the cheek. His lips feel like ice. "Going to volunteer, honey," he says, reaching for his coat. "Be back in a few hours." I force a smile. "Drive safe." He walks out the door. I count to 30. Then I grab my purse and keys. Mark looks up from the couch. "Mum? Where are you going?" "Just need to run to the store," I say. "Forgot the cranberry sauce." It's a lie. My first lie in 50 years of marriage. Funny how easy it is once you've learned from the best. I get in my car. My hands are trembling on the steering wheel. I can see Frank's car 2 blocks ahead, stopped at a red light. This is it. This is the moment my life divides into before and after. I take a breath. And I follow him. If you've ever suspected someone you love was lying to you, and you were too afraid to find out the truth, hit that subscribe button. Because what I'm about to discover will change everything. Only liars like Frank won't subscribe. Don't be like Frank. I've been driving for 15 minutes, and Frank still hasn't turned toward downtown. My heart is hammering against my ribs so hard I think it might crack them. I keep 2 cars between us, the way they do in movies. I don't know if he's checking his mirrors. I don't know if he can see me. All I know is he's not going to any shelter. He's heading west, away from the city, into neighborhoods I've never been to. Part of me wants to turn around, go back home, pretend I never started this. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you know, you can't unknow. But I keep driving. The streets get quieter. We're in a middle-class neighborhood now. Neat little houses with Christmas lights strung across the porches. Kids' bikes in the driveways. Basketball hoops over garage doors. The kind of neighborhood where people know their neighbors' names. Frank's turn signal blinks. He pulls into the driveway of a small blue house. I drive past, then park 3 houses down, my hands frozen on the steering wheel. I can see him in my rearview mirror, getting out of his car. He's carrying shopping bags, wrapped presents. The front door opens before he even knocks. A man steps out. He's in his early 50s, maybe, dark hair going grey at the temples. He's smiling, this big, genuine smile, and he pulls Frank into a hug. Not a handshake, a hug. The kind of hug you give family. I should leave. I should start the car and drive away. But I can't move. I can't breathe. I can only watch. I get out of my car. My legs feel like they belong to someone else. I walk down the sidewalk, staying close to the parked cars, trying to look casual. Just a woman out for a Christmas morning walk. There's a large front window. The curtains are open. I shouldn't look. I know I shouldn't. I look anyway, and my entire world shatters. Frank is sitting on a couch in the living room. The man who hugged him is there. A woman, too. Probably his wife. 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl, sitting on the floor surrounded by wrapping paper. They're opening presents. Frank's presents. He looks so comfortable, so at home. He's laughing at something the teenage boy said. The woman touches his arm affectionately, like they've known each other forever, like this is normal, like this is routine, like this is a family. I press my hand against the cold siding of the house to steady myself. The world is tilting. Nothing makes sense. Who are these people? Why is my husband sitting in their living room on Christmas morning like he belongs there? Then I see it. On the mantelpiece, next to a small Christmas tree, a framed photograph. I squint, leaning closer to the window. It's Frank. A younger Frank, maybe in his 30s. He has his arm around a woman I've never seen before. She's pretty, with dark hair and a soft smile, and she's holding a baby. A newborn baby wrapped in a blue blanket. The man on the couch, the one who hugged Frank. I look at him again. Really look at him. He has Frank's eyes, Frank's nose, Frank's smile. Oh God. Oh God, no. Frank doesn't have a secret lover. He has a secret son. The realization doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves, each one harder than the last. That baby in the photo is now a grown man, which means Frank has known about him for 50 years, has been in his life for 50 years. This isn't an affair. Affairs end. Affairs burn out. This is a whole other family he's been keeping from me. Every Christmas. Every single Christmas for 5 decades. While I was home basting the turkey and setting out cookies for the grandkids, Frank was here, sitting on this couch, opening presents with them. My legs give out. I sink down onto the cold ground, my back against the house, my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. I can hear them laughing inside, warm, happy, together, and I'm outside in the cold, where I've always been. I realize now, outside, alone, while Frank lived his real life somewhere else. I think about every Christmas morning, Frank barely touching his breakfast, always distracted, always watching the clock. I thought he was eager to go volunteer, to help people less fortunate. He was saving his appetite for their Christmas breakfast. I think about the gifts. Every year, Frank would say, "Honey, I'm going to pick up some things for the shelter donation box." He'd come back with bags from Target, Walmart, clothes, toys. "For the kids at the shelter," he'd say. They were never for the shelter. They were for his other children. The teenage boy inside laughs at something, and I can hear it through the window. It sounds like Mark's laugh, like Sarah's laugh, because they're siblings, half-siblings. My children have a brother they've never met. I don't know how long I sit there. Could be 5 minutes, could be 30. Time feels broken, but eventually, I realize I need to move. I need to get out of here before someone sees me, before Frank looks out the window and discovers me crouched outside like some kind of stalker. Even though he's the liar, he's the one with secrets. I'm just the fool who believed him. I pull out my phone with shaking hands. I take one photo through the window. Just one. Frank, sitting on that couch, surrounded by the family I didn't know existed. Evidence. I'll need evidence. Then I run back to my car. I don't remember starting the engine. Don't remember driving away. I'm just suddenly on the highway, tears streaming down my face, my breath coming in these awful, choking gasps. I pull over at a gas station and sob into my steering wheel. 50 years. 50 years. I believed our marriage was solid, that Frank was faithful, that I was loved. How many of our anniversaries did he celebrate thinking about her? The woman in the photo. How many times did he tell me he loved me when his heart was somewhere else? I look at the photo on my phone. Frank's face, illuminated by the glow of Christmas lights. He looks happy, truly happy. Happier than I've seen him look in years. Maybe happier than he's ever looked with me. I check the time. It's 10:47 a.m. Panic cuts through the grief. Frank left our house at 9:30. He's been gone for an hour. He usually stays at the shelter for 3 hours, which means I have 2 more hours before he comes home. 2 hours to pull myself together, to wash my face, to smile at my grandchildren and pretend my heart isn't broken into 1,000 pieces. 2 hours to become someone I've never been before. A woman who can sit across from her husband at Christmas dinner and pretend she doesn't know he's a liar. I wipe my eyes, start the car, drive home on autopilot. When I pull into our driveway, I can see Mark and Sarah through the kitchen window. They're laughing, probably wondering where I am with that cranberry sauce. I look at myself in the rearview mirror. My eyes are red. My mascara is smudged. I look like exactly what I am. A woman who just discovered her entire life is a lie. I fix my makeup as best I can. Take 3 deep breaths. Then I walk inside with a smile on my face and a can of cranberry sauce I grabbed from the gas station. Sorry, I say brightly. There was a line. Sarah hugs me. Mark asks if I'm feeling okay. I lie and say I'm fine. Just tired. I'm getting good at lying. Frank taught me well. At 12:30, Frank comes home. He's whistling. Actually whistling a Christmas carol as he hangs up his coat. How was the shelter? I ask. My voice sounds normal, calm. Good, he says. Really good. You know how it is. Seeing those folks smile when they get a hot meal makes everything worthwhile. He kisses my forehead. I feel nothing. No love, no warmth. Just a cold, spreading numbness. Carol? Frank's looking at me with concern. You okay? You seem distant. I force a smile. I'm fine. Just tired from all the cooking. He squeezes my shoulder. You work too hard, honey. What would I do without you? I don't answer. Because tomorrow I'm going back to that blue house. And this time, I'm knocking on the door. Comment. I stand with Carol. If you believe 50 years of lies deserves 0 forgiveness. Only people like Frank, cheaters, liars, manipulators, will stay silent. If you've ever had to smile and pretend everything was fine while your heart was breaking, you understand. Don't let Frank win. Stand with the truth. I barely slept. Frank snored beside me all night, peaceful as a baby, while I stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out how a person becomes 2 different people, how you split yourself in half and live 2 lives without the weight of it crushing you. Maybe it doesn't crush you when you don't have a conscience. It's December 26th now. Frank left for work this morning. He's retired, but he still goes into the office once a week to help with the books. At least, that's what he tells me. I don't believe anything he says anymore. I'm sitting in my car outside the blue house again. It's 10 a.m. The Christmas lights are still up. A wreath hangs on the front door. My hands are shaking on the steering wheel. Yesterday, I watched through a window. Today, I'm going to knock on that door. I'm going to look these people in the eye and ask them who they are, why my husband has been coming here for 50 years, what they know about me, if they know about me at all. I think about turning around, going home, pretending I never saw any of this. People live their whole lives in denial. It's not that hard. You just keep your head down and don't ask questions and accept the version of reality that hurts the least. But I'm 72 years old, and I'm tired of being lied to. I get out of the car. The walk to the front door feels like a mile. Each step, I'm thinking of reasons to turn back. This is their home. I'm intruding. What if I'm wrong? What if there's a perfectly reasonable explanation? Except there isn't. I know there isn't. I ring the doorbell. Footsteps inside. The door opens. It's him. The man from yesterday. Frank's son. Up close, the resemblance is even stronger. He has Frank's jawline, Frank's hands. When he smiles politely at me, it's Frank's smile. I feel sick. Can I help you? He asks. I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. He tilts his head, concerned. Mom? Are you okay? I force the words out. I'm Carol, Frank's wife. The color drains from his face. For a long moment, we just stare at each other. Then he says, very quietly, I'm David. I know, I say. He looks over his shoulder, then back at me. I thought you knew about me. Those words hit me like a punch. What? I thought... He stops, runs a hand through his hair. Maybe you should come inside. The living room looks different in daylight. Brighter, more real. Yesterday it was like watching a movie through a window. Now I'm standing in it. A woman appears from the kitchen. Younger than me, maybe 50. She freezes when she sees me. Jen? David says. This is Carol, Frank's Frank's wife. The woman, Jennifer, stares at me. You're the Carol? From Columbus? I nod slowly. What do you mean, the Carol? Jennifer looks at David. David looks at the floor. Frank told us you two were separated, Jennifer says finally. That you had an arrangement. The room tilts. Separated? My voice sounds strange, distant. We've been married for 50 years. We live together. We share a bed. Jennifer's hand goes to her mouth. Oh my God. David sinks onto the couch. He said you knew about me, that you understood he had a son from before you got married, that you'd agreed he could be part of my life. I can't breathe. I found out about you yesterday, Christmas morning, when I followed him here. Jesus, David whispers. I should sit down, but I can't. If I sit, I might never get up again. Tell me everything, from the beginning. David's story comes out slowly, painfully. His mother was Linda. She and Frank were together in the early 70s before Frank and I met. She got pregnant. Frank left her. But when I was 2, David says, he came back, said he'd made a mistake, that he wanted to be my father. And your mother let him? I ask. David's jaw tightens. She loved him. She spent her whole life loving him. Jennifer adds quietly, even though he never left you. The pieces are falling into place, forming a picture I don't want to see. He's been visiting you since you were 2 years old? I ask. Every week, David says. Sometimes more. Birthdays, holidays. He was at my high school graduation, my college graduation, my wedding. He pauses. I thought you didn't want to come, that you and Frank had this understanding. I think about 1989, David's high school graduation. Where was I? I was home with Sarah, who had the flu. Frank said he had a work conference in Cleveland. I believed him. I always believed him. Did he? I stop. Start again. Did he give you money? David and Jennifer exchange a look. He sends us $2,000 a month, David says quietly. Has for 30 years. He said it was from a separate account, something he'd set up before you got married. $2,000 a month. 30 years. I do the math in my head. That's $720,000. $720,000 from our joint savings, the account I thought was for our retirement. I worked double shifts in my 50s because Frank said we needed to save more. I put off retiring until I was 68 because he said we couldn't afford it yet. And the whole time, he was sending $2,000 a month to the son I didn't know existed. Are you okay? Jennifer asks. You look pale. I'm not okay. I'll never be okay again. But I say, I need to know everything, every lie, every secret, all of it. David stands up. Wait here. He leaves the room, comes back a few minutes later carrying a cardboard box. My mum died 10 years ago, he says. Before she passed, she told me to keep this safe. Said someday someone might need the truth. He sets the box on the coffee table. She kept records, he says. Letters from my dad, receipts, bank statements, everything. I stare at the box. It's just cardboard, ordinary. But inside is proof of 50 years of betrayal. There's something else, David says. He pulls out a folder from the top of the box. Mum told me Dad included me in his will, that I'd inherit part of your estate when he died. He showed me the paperwork last year. He opens the folder, slides a document across to me. It's a revised will, dated 2023, leaving David 40% of our retirement savings and our family cabin in Michigan. At the bottom, 2 signatures, Frank's and mine. Except I never signed this. I've never seen this document before in my life. The signature looks like mine. The loops and curves are almost perfect. But it's not my handwriting. I didn't sign this, I whisper. David's face goes white. What? This signature is forged. I look up at him. Your father forged my name. Jennifer makes a small sound. David just stares. He told me you'd agreed, David says. That you wanted to include me in the family. That after all these years, you'd made peace with it. I laugh. It sounds broken. I didn't know you existed until yesterday. David drops onto the couch like his strings have been cut. He lied to me. He's been lying to me my whole life. He's been lying to all of us, I say. I take the forged will, fold it carefully, put it in my purse. Evidence. I'll need evidence for what comes next. Can I take the box? I ask. I need to see what else he's been hiding. David nods. Take it. Take all of it. I don't want any of this anymore. I don't want his money. I don't want... His voice breaks. I thought he loved me. I thought he loved me too, I say. We look at each other. Two people who built their lives around a man who was never really there. What are you going to do? Jennifer asks. I pick up the box. It's heavier than I expected. I'm going to find a lawyer, I say. And then I'm going to make sure your father loses everything. If you can't stand people who live double lives, people who lie to everyone they claim to love, comment, honesty matters. People like Frank, who manipulate and deceive, they won't comment. They'll stay silent, just like they've stayed silent their whole lives. Don't be like Frank. I don't open the box until I get back to my house. Frank is still at work. The house is empty, silent. I set the cardboard box on the dining room table, the same table where we've eaten thousands of meals together, where we celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, where Frank carved the Thanksgiving turkey year after year while I smiled and thought I was blessed. That table has seen 50 years of lies. I sit down, take a breath, open the box. The first thing I see is a stack of letters, bound with a rubber band. The paper is yellowed with age. Some of the envelopes are addressed in Frank's handwriting, neat, precise, the same handwriting I've seen on grocery lists and birthday cards for half a century. But these letters weren't written to me. I pull one out. It's dated August 1987. My dearest Linda, I wish I could be with you and David full time. You have no idea how hard it is to leave you every Sunday night. When I'm with you, I'm myself. When I'm home, I'm just playing a role. Someday, I promise, someday I'll find the courage to make this right. All my love, Frank. I have to read it 3 times before it sinks in. August 1987. I was pregnant with Sarah, sick every morning. Frank would bring me crackers in bed and tell me how much he loved me, how excited he was to be a father again. And on Sundays, he'd go play golf with the guys from work. He was with Linda. I read another letter, then another. They spanned decades. The 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s. The language changes over the years. Early letters full of passion and promises. Later ones more resigned, more comfortable. But the message is always the same. Frank loved Linda. Maybe more than he ever loved me. There's one from 2001 that makes me stop breathing. Linda, Carol doesn't understand me the way you do. She's a good woman, but we've grown apart. She's content with her routines, her nurse friends, her book club. She doesn't see me anymore. Not really. You're my real home. You always have been. The year I threw Frank a surprise party for his 50th birthday. I invited everyone he knew. Spent weeks planning it. He seemed so happy that night, laughing with our friends, holding my hand. The whole time he was thinking of Linda. I set the letters aside. Can't read any more right now. Underneath, there are receipts, dozens of them, hundreds, maybe. I spread them across the table. The first one I pick up is a bank deposit slip. Date, June 15th, 1995. Amount, $15,000. Deposited into an account under Linda's name. I know exactly what this is. My mother died in May 1995. She left me $15,000 in her will. Her life savings. She'd worked as a seamstress her whole life, saving every penny. On her deathbed, she held my hand and said, "Use this for something special, Carol. You've given so much to everyone else. Do something just for you." I told Frank about the inheritance. He said, "Let me invest it, honey. We'll grow it for our retirement." He gave it to David, for college tuition. My mother's entire life savings, gone to a man I didn't know existed. I think about calling Frank right now, screaming at him. But my hands are shaking too hard to hold the phone. I keep looking through the receipts. 1998. A cashier's check for $8,000. Memo line says, "Vehicle." I remember this. Frank told me he got a year-end bonus from work. Said we should save it for the kids' college funds. I believed him. But the check was made out to David for a car. 2003, a withdrawal from our savings account. $25,000. I remember this one too. Frank said he was taking out a business loan to help his friend start a company. Said it was a sure thing, a good investment. Mark got married that same year. He asked if we could help with the wedding. Frank told him we couldn't afford it. Money's tight, son. You understand. I watched Mark's face fall. Watched him and his fiancée plan a smaller wedding. Watched them cut the guest list, skip the honeymoon. That same year, Frank gave David $25,000 for his wedding. Our son got the cheap version of a father's love. David got the real thing. 2007. Another withdrawal. $40,000. Memo. Investment loss. Frank came home that day looking devastated. Said he'd made a bad stock trade. That we'd lost $40,000. I cried. We'd been saving for a trip to Italy, my dream vacation. We cancelled it. Frank said we needed to be more careful with money. There was no stock trade. He gave the money to David for a down payment on a house. I added up in my head. $15,000. Plus $8,000, plus $25,000. Plus $40,000. $88,000. And that's just the big transactions. There are smaller receipts too. Birthday gifts, Christmas presents, emergency loans. All of it from our joint account. All of it money I helped earn, working 12-hour shifts at the hospital. Coming home with aching feet and a sore back. Money I thought was building our future. Frank was building David's future instead. Then I find the monthly bank statements. 30 years' worth, carefully filed in chronological order. Every month, like clockwork. $2,000 transferred to an account in David's name. 30 years, 12 months a year. $2,000 per month. That's $720,000. $720,000. Gone. I worked until I was 68 years old because Frank said we couldn't afford for me to retire. My knees hurt. My back hurt. I'd come home from the hospital and collapse on the couch, too tired to make dinner. Frank would pat my shoulder and say, "Just a few more years, honey. We need to build up our savings." We had $750,000. He just didn't want to stop sending it to David. At the bottom of the box, there's a small journal, leather-bound, worn. Linda's name is embossed on the cover. I open it carefully. The entries are sporadic. Some years have dozens of entries. Other years, just a few. I flip through, looking for, I don't know what. More evidence. More pain. I find an entry from Christmas 1998. Frank spent 3 hours with us today. David is so happy when his father is here. He lights up in a way he never does the rest of the year. Frank says Carol doesn't understand him the way I do. He says she's too focused on the children, on her work, that they've become roommates more than lovers. He promised that next year he'd stay longer, maybe even spend Christmas Eve with us. I believe him. I always believe him. I slam the journal shut. I can't read anymore. Can't stomach Linda's hope, her longing, her desperate belief that Frank would choose her. He never did. He kept us both. Had his cake and ate it too. 2 women. 2 families. 2 lives. And we were both too in love to see it. My phone rings. It's Sarah. I almost don't answer, but I do. "Mom? Are you okay? You sound weird." I look at the table covered in evidence of my husband's betrayal. "I'm fine, sweetheart." Another lie. I'm getting good at them. "Okay. Well, Dad wanted me to ask if you're coming to dinner on Sunday. He said you've been distant lately." Dad. She calls him Dad with so much affection, so much trust. She doesn't know he has another child, that she has a half-brother named David, who got the college money she didn't, who got the father she deserved. "Tell Dad I'll be there," I say. But I won't be the same person who shows up. After I hang up, I pack everything back into the box. The letters, the receipts, the journal, the forged will. Tomorrow morning I'm taking this to a lawyer, and Frank's world is about to come crashing down. Hit subscribe if you believe people like Frank who steal from their own families deserve to lose everything. Only thieves and liars won't subscribe. If you've ever sacrificed for someone who was secretly betraying you, you understand. Don't let Frank win. The law office is on the third floor of a building downtown, glass and steel, modern, the kind of place that screams, expensive. I don't care what it costs. Frank stole $720,000 from me. I'll spend whatever it takes to get it back. The receptionist leads me to a conference room. A woman walks in a moment later, late 40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She extends her hand. Mrs. Patterson? I'm Rebecca Santos. We shake. Her grip is firm. Thank you for seeing me on short notice, I say. Your message said it was urgent. She sits across from me. You mentioned fraud? I slide the box across the table. Rebecca opens it, starts pulling out documents. For 30 minutes, she reads in silence while I sit there, hands folded, trying to keep myself together. Finally, she looks up. Mrs. Patterson, she says quietly, this isn't just a divorce case. This is fraud, identity theft, forgery. Your husband has committed multiple felonies. Hearing it out loud makes it real. Can I get my money back? I ask. Rebecca's expression softens. You can get your money back. But that's not the only question here. She taps the forged will. With evidence like this, you could send him to prison? Prison. I think about Frank in an orange jumpsuit, behind bars. The thought should satisfy me. Instead, I just feel empty. What are my options? I ask. Rebecca leans back. 3 paths. 1. File for divorce and pursue civil claims for the money he stole. It'll take time, but you'll likely win. 2. Report him to the FBI for fraud. He's looking at 10 to 20 years in federal prison. 3. Both. What would you do? I ask. She doesn't hesitate. Both. I nod slowly. Then that's what I want. Rebecca studies me for a moment. I need you to understand what this means. If you go public with this, and criminal charges are public, your children will be devastated. Their father's reputation will be destroyed. His name will be in the papers. Are you prepared for that? I think about Mark, Sarah. They worship Frank. Mark's wedding toast. To my dad, the best man I know. Sarah's last birthday card to him. You taught me what integrity looks like. They're going to hate me for this, but they deserve to know the truth. They need to know who their father really is, I say, even if it breaks their hearts. Rebecca makes a call. 20 minutes later, a man joins us. Mid-60s, silver hair, reading glasses. Rebecca introduces him as Donald Chen, a forensic accountant. Don is going to dig through your finances, Rebecca explains. Every account, every transaction. We need to know the full scope of what Frank's been hiding. Don takes the box. I'll need access to your bank statements, tax returns, credit reports, whatever you need, I say. He leaves. Rebecca and I spend the next hour going through my options, signing paperwork, building a strategy. Then her assistant knocks on the door. Don needs to see you both. He says it's urgent. We go to Don's office down the hall. He's surrounded by papers and computer screens. I've only scratched the surface, he says, but I've already found something concerning. He turns his monitor toward us. Your husband opened a credit card in 1998. In your name. I stare at the screen. I didn't open that. I know. The signature on the application is forged. He pulls up more documents. He's been using it for 15 years. Never missed a payment, so it never showed up as a problem on your credit report. But the total charges over those years? He pauses. $85,000. The room spins. $85,000 on what? I ask. Don clicks through transaction records. Restaurants, hotels, jewelry, most of it in Columbus and surrounding areas. He looks at me over his glasses. I'm guessing these weren't your purchases. No, they were Frank's purchases for Linda. $50 dinners at steakhouses while I made casseroles at home. Weekend getaways to bed and breakfasts while I thought he was at conferences. Diamond earrings for anniversaries I didn't know they were celebrating. All on credit cards in my name. There's more, Don says. Of course there is. He pulls up bank statements from 2008 to 2012. Do you remember the financial crisis? The market crash? Of course, I say. We lost so much in our retirement account. Frank said it was because of the recession. Don shakes his head. You lost money in the market, yes, but not as much as your husband claimed. According to these statements, he withdrew 120,000 lilos from your retirement fund during those years. Cash withdrawals. For what? Don pulls up more records. ATM withdrawals. All from the same locations: Atlantic City, Las Vegas, Biloxi, casino towns. Your husband gambled away $120,000, Don says, then blamed it on the recession. I remember 2008. The financial crisis hit us hard, or so Frank said. He sat me down at the kitchen table, looking grave. We've lost about a third of our retirement savings, he told me. The market's in freefall. Everyone's getting hurt. I cried. We'd worked so hard to build that nest egg. What do we do? I asked. Frank took my hand. We rebuild. It'll take time, but we'll get through this together. I was 65 then, close to retirement. I'd been dreaming about it, traveling, spending time with the grandkids, finally resting after 40 years as a nurse. I should probably keep working a few more years, I said, until we recover what we lost. Frank squeezed my hand. If you think you can manage it, honey, just a few more years. I worked for 3 more years. My knees hurt so badly some days I could barely stand. My back ached constantly. I'd come home and collapse into bed, too exhausted to eat. But I kept going, because Frank said we needed to rebuild. He was rebuilding, all right. Rebuilding the money he'd gambled away at blackjack tables. Are you okay? Rebecca asks. I realize I'm gripping the edge of the desk so hard my knuckles are white. How much? I ask. Total. How much did he steal? Don looks at his notes. So far, I've found approximately $890,000 in stolen funds, forged transactions, and hidden assets. But I've only gone through 10 years of records. There's likely more. Almost $1 million. Gone. While I worked double shifts and penny-pinched and told my children we couldn't afford to help them because money was tight. I want him destroyed, I whisper. Rebecca puts her hand on mine. We'll build an airtight case, but it'll take time. A few weeks to gather everything. Can you do that? Can you go home and act normal while we prepare? I think about sitting across from Frank at dinner, smiling, pretending. I can do whatever it takes, I say. I leave the law office at 4:30 p.m. My phone has 6 missed calls, all from Frank. I call him back. Carol, where have you been? He sounds worried. I've been trying to reach you all day. I was shopping. I lie. My phone was on silent. Oh, okay. Listen, Mark and Sarah are coming over for dinner tonight. Can you pick up something from the store? Mark and Sarah. A normal family dinner. Sure, I say. What do you need? Just grab some wine. And maybe that pasta salad Sarah likes. I pull into the grocery store parking lot. For a moment, I just sit there, staring at nothing. Tonight, I'll sit at that table with my children and my husband. I'll smile and laugh and pretend everything is fine. Tomorrow, I'll keep pretending. Next week, and the week after that, until Rebecca is ready, until the trap is set, until Frank's whole world comes crashing down. I get out of the car, walk into the store, buy wine and pasta salad, and I practice my smile in the rearview mirror before I drive home. When I walk in, Frank is in the kitchen with Mark and Sarah. They're laughing about something. Frank has his arm around Sarah's shoulders. He sees me and smiles. There she is. We were getting worried. Mark hugs me. Hey, Mum, you okay? You look tired. Just a long day, I say. We sit down to dinner. Frank pours the wine, asks about everyone's week. Sarah talks about her promotion at work. Mark talks about his son's soccer game. Frank is charming, attentive, the perfect father and husband. I watch him and think, you have no idea what's coming. Then Sarah says something that makes my blood run cold. Oh, Mom, Dad told us something interesting today. I look at Frank. His expression doesn't change. He said he's been helping a young man he mentored years ago, someone who needed a father figure. Isn't that sweet? My heart stops. Frank is already building his narrative. He's already started turning my children against me. Very sweet, I manage to say. Under the table, my hands clench into fists. Comment, justice for Carol. if you think Frank deserves to lose everything he's stolen. Only gamblers, thieves, and liars will stay silent. If you've ever worked yourself to exhaustion while someone you trusted was betraying you, you know exactly how Carol feels. Stand with her. 3 days after my first meeting with Rebecca, I come home from the grocery store to find Frank's car in the driveway, next to Mark's car, and Sarah's car. It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Neither of my children should be here. They should be at work. My stomach drops. I sit in my car for a moment, groceries in the back seat, trying to steady my breathing. This isn't a coincidence. Frank called a meeting. But why? Unless he knows I've been investigating. I grab my purse and walk inside. They're all sitting in the living room. Frank is in his usual chair. Mark and Sarah are on the couch, looking concerned. When I walk in, they all turn to look at me. The air feels heavy. Wrong. Carol, Frank says gently, come sit down, honey. We need to talk. I stay standing. What's going on? Sarah pats the seat next to her. Mom, please, just sit. I sit. My purse clutched in my lap like a shield. Mark speaks first. Mom, we're worried about you. Worried? I look between them. Why? You've been acting strange lately, Sarah says. Distant. Dad says you've been following him around town, accusing him of things. I haven't accused him of anything. I interrupt. Frank's voice is so soft, so reasonable. Honey, I know you've been under a lot of stress. Turning 72 can be difficult. It's normal to feel anxious. I'm not anxious. And sometimes, when we're feeling overwhelmed, we can become a bit paranoid. Paranoid. He's calling me paranoid in front of our children. I look at Mark and Sarah. They're watching me with pity in their eyes. I'm not paranoid, I say clearly. Your father has been lying to you. Frank sighs, looks at the kids. See? This is what I'm talking about. Lying about what, Mom? Mark asks. I take a breath. This wasn't how I wanted to tell them, but Frank has forced my hand. Your father has another son, I say. Silence. Sarah laughs nervously. Mom, what are you talking about? I pull out my phone. Show them the photo I took through the window. Frank on the couch with David's family. His name is David. He's 52 years old. Your father has been visiting him every Christmas for 50 years. Mark takes the phone. Studies the picture. Who are these people? He asks Frank. Frank doesn't miss a beat. Okay. Yes. I should have told you all about David years ago. He runs a hand through his hair, looking pained. Before I married your mother, I had a brief relationship with a woman named Linda. She got pregnant. I made a mistake. I walked away. He pauses, looks down at his hands like he's ashamed. But when David was 2 years old, I realized I couldn't abandon him. He needed a father. So I reconnected. I've been quietly supporting him ever since. Sarah's face softens. Dad, you've been helping him all these years? I tried to do the right thing, Frank says. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to complicate our family. David has his own life. I just wanted to be there for him. It's masterful. The way he's spinning this, making himself the hero. That's not the whole story, I say. My voice is shaking. Tell them about the money. What money? Mark asks. Your father has been sending David $2,000 a month for 30 years from our joint account. Money we were supposed to be saving for retirement. Frank shakes his head sadly. Carol, I know you're upset that I've been helping David financially, but you gave him my mother's inheritance. I'm standing now. $15,000 she left me. You told me you invested it. You gave it to David for college. Mom? Sarah starts. And the $25,000 Mark needed help with for his wedding. You told him we couldn't afford it. That same year, you gave David $25,000 for his wedding. Mark's face goes pale. Is that true? Frank's expression is gentle, patient, like he's dealing with a confused child. Mark, the money situation was complicated. We were in different financial positions at different times. You chose him over us, I shout. Over and over again, you chose David. Sarah stands up, puts her hand on my arm. Mom, you're not making sense. You're getting worked up over... I'm not worked up. I pull away from her. I have proof. Bank statements, letters, A forged will where your father signed my name to leave David 40% of our assets. Frank's eyes flicker, just for a second. He knows I found the box. A forged will? Mark looks at Frank. Dad? Your mother is confused. Frank says calmly. We discussed estate planning last year. I showed her the documents. She may not remember, but she agreed to include David. I never saw that document. I turn to Mark and Sarah. He forged my signature. I can prove it, but I can see it in their faces. They don't believe me. They believe him. Mom, Sarah says gently, maybe you should sit down. You're really upset. Of course I'm upset. Your father has been lying to us for 50 years. Frank stands, walks over to me, puts his hands on my shoulders. Carol, sweetheart, I think you need some rest. You've been under so much stress lately. I shove his hands away. Don't touch me. Mark and Sarah exchange a look, the kind of look you give someone when you're worried about their mental state. Frank has won. He's made me look crazy. I think Mom should maybe stay with me for a few days, Sarah says quietly to Frank. That might be good, Frank agrees. Just until she's feeling more herself. I laugh. It sounds bitter. I'm not leaving my own house. Mom, Mark starts. No, I know what you're thinking. That I'm having some kind of breakdown, that I'm imagining things, but I'm not. I look at Frank. Tell them the truth. Tell them about the credit card you opened in my name, the $85,000 you spent on Linda. Carol, tell them about the $120,000 you gambled away in Atlantic City, the money you blamed on the recession. Frank's face goes hard for just a second. Then he smooths it over. This is exactly what I was worried about, he says to Mark and Sarah. She's been making these wild accusations for days. I didn't want to worry you, but I think she might need to see someone. A therapist, maybe a doctor. I don't need a therapist. My voice is too loud, too shrill. I sound crazy. I can see it in my children's faces. Sarah takes my hand. Mum, please, let's just take a breath. Maybe Dad's right. Maybe you should talk to someone. I have been talking to someone. I snap. A lawyer? Silence. Frank's mask slips again. You hired a lawyer? Yes. And she's building a case against you for fraud, for forgery, for theft. Mark stands up. Mum, that's enough. It's not enough. It'll never be enough to make up for what he's done. Sarah is crying now. Mum, please stop. You're scaring me. I look at my daughter, my beautiful daughter who I held the day she was born, who I raised and loved and protected. And she's looking at me like I'm a stranger. Frank has taken everything. My money, my marriage, my dignity, and now my children. I think you should both go, Frank says to Mark and Sarah. I'll take care of your mother. They hesitate. Go, I say. I'm fine. I'm not fine. But I can't stand the pity in their eyes. Mark hugs me. It feels like goodbye. Call me if you need anything, okay? Sarah kisses my cheek, whispers, Please get some help, Mum. We love you. They leave. The house is silent. Frank and I stand on opposite sides of the living room, looking at each other. You will not destroy this family with your hysteria, he says. His voice is ice. Drop this, now. Or what? Or you'll lose them forever. Mark and Sarah already think you're unstable. Keep this up, and they'll cut you out completely. Is that what you want? I grab my purse, my car keys. Where are you going? Frank demands. Somewhere you're not. I walk out the door. I check into a Holiday Inn on the edge of town. The room is small, beige, generic. I sit on the bed and stare at the wall. My phone rings. It's Sarah. I don't answer. It rings again. Mark this time. I don't answer. A text from Frank. This is childish, Carol. Come home. I turn off my phone. I'm 72 years old, sitting alone in a hotel room, and my own children think I'm losing my mind. Frank has outmaneuvered me. But he's made a mistake. He's underestimated how much I'm willing to lose to take him down. I turn my phone back on. Call Rebecca. I need to move faster. I tell her. Whatever it takes. I want him exposed. We're still gathering evidence. I don't care. Find what you need. Because I just lost my children. And I'll be damned if I lose everything else, too. I hang up. Then my phone rings again. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but I do. Carol? It's David. I've been going through more of my mum's things. I found her journal. The pages she tore out? She didn't destroy them. She hid them. My heart starts racing. What do they say? David's voice is shaking. They say my father has been lying to both of us about money. Big money. Offshore accounts. Hidden assets. I close my eyes. How much money, David? According to my mum's notes? Over $500,000. If you believe manipulators like Frank who gaslight and lie deserve to be exposed, hit subscribe. People like him won't. If you've ever been made to feel crazy for telling the truth, you understand what Carol is going through. Comment. Never back down if you think she should keep fighting. I meet David at a coffee shop the next morning. It's one of those places on the outskirts of town where nobody knows me, where I can sit in a corner booth and not worry about running into neighbors who'll ask me why I look like I haven't slept in 3 days. David is already there when I arrive. He looks as bad as I feel. Dark circles under his eyes. Wrinkled shirt. We're both casualties of Frank's war on the truth. He slides a folder across the table as I sit down. Inside are photocopied pages from Linda's journal. The handwriting is shaky in places, like she was upset while writing. Read the entry from March 2010, David says. I find the page. Start reading. March 15th, 2010. Frank finally admitted the truth today. I've suspected for months, but hearing him say it out loud was like being punched in the stomach. He has offshore accounts, money he's been hiding from Carol for years. He said it started in the late 90s. He'd open accounts in the Cayman Islands, funnel money there little by little. He claimed it was insurance in case anything happened. In case Carol ever tried to divorce him. I asked how much. Over $500,000. $500,000. While I've been scraping by, working 2 jobs to make ends meet, he's had $500,000 hidden away. While Carol has been working herself to death thinking they're barely getting by, he's been stockpiling cash like a dragon hoarding gold. I confronted him, asked him why he never helped us more if he had all that money, why he let David struggle to pay for his first apartment, why I had to take out loans for my car repairs. He said it was complicated, that he couldn't access the money without raising suspicion. I don't believe him anymore. I don't believe anything he says. I look up from the page. Your mother knew, I say. David nods. For the last year of her life, she knew what he was. She just didn't have the strength to fight him anymore. I keep reading. There are more entries. April 2010, June 2010. Linda documenting every conversation she had with Frank about the money. In one entry, she lists the account numbers, dates they were opened, estimated balances. Account 1, Cayman Islands, opened 1998. $285,000, account 2, Cayman Islands, opened 2005. $340,000, account 3, Switzerland, opened 2015. $120,000 total, $745,000. $745,000 hidden while I worked until my body gave out. While Linda worked 2 jobs. While David struggled to make rent. Frank had $750,000 sitting in offshore accounts. She wrote one more thing, David says quietly. He points to an entry from August 2010. August 3rd, 2010. I asked Frank what would happen to the offshore money when he died, if it would go to David, to Carol. He laughed. Actually laughed. He said he was going to make sure it all went to David, that he'd been moving money around, setting up trusts, making sure Carol never saw a penny of it. He said Carol didn't deserve it after all the years she'd failed to understand him. I should have recorded that conversation, should have gotten proof, but I was too tired to fight anymore. I'm always too tired. My mum died 6 months after that entry, David says. Heart attack. She was 61. Too young, too tired, too betrayed. I think the stress killed her, David continues. I think finding out about the money, realizing Frank had been lying to her even more than she thought, I think it broke something in her. I think about Linda, a woman I never met, a woman who loved the same man I loved, who believed the same lies. We could have been friends, in another life, Instead, we were both Frank's victims. There's more, David says. He pulls out bank statements, recent ones. I started digging after I found Mum's journal, called some banks, pretended to be Frank, used information from Mum's notes. What did you find? He's been moving the money. In the last 3 months, he's transferred $200,000 out of the Cayman accounts. My stomach drops. To where? David looks sick. To an account in my name. What? I never authorized it. Never even knew it existed. But there's an account at First National Bank with my name on it. Frank opened it last year. He's been slowly moving money there. I understand immediately. He's protecting his assets, I say. If I divorce him, I can't claim money that's in your name. David pushes the papers away like they're contaminated. He's using me. Even now, he's making me an accomplice to his theft. We sit in silence for a moment. 2 people, 2 families, both destroyed by the same man. What do we do? David asks. I think about Frank, sitting in our house right now, probably congratulating himself on how well he handled things yesterday, how he made me look crazy, how he turned my children against me. He thinks he's won. We take him down, I say. Together? I call Rebecca from the parking lot. I need you to trace offshore accounts. I tell her. I have the account numbers. How did you… David's mother kept records before she died. We have proof of $745,000 in hidden assets. Rebecca is silent for a moment. Carol, if we can verify this, your husband is looking at serious federal charges, tax evasion, fraud. This isn't just divorce court anymore, this is criminal. Good, I say. I want criminal charges. Are you sure? Once we go down this road. I'm sure. Rebecca takes a breath. Okay, send me everything you have. I'll bring in a specialist. Someone who knows how to trace offshore money. But Carol, this is going to get ugly. It's already ugly, I say. Now it's going to get public. I drive to a FedEx store and make copies of everything. Linda's journal, the account numbers, David's bank statements showing the money Frank moved into his name. I send 1 set to Rebecca. I keep 1 set for myself. And I send 1 set to a reporter I found online. Someone who covers financial crimes in Columbus. The subject line of my email reads, Local man hides $745,000 while wife works herself to exhaustion. I attach every document, every piece of proof. Then I hit send. Frank wanted to control the narrative, wanted to make this go away quietly. Too late. The truth is about to go public. That night, I get a call from Mark. Mum, are you okay? Sarah said you're staying at a hotel. I'm fine. This is crazy. Whatever's going on between you and Dad, you can't just leave. Your father has $745,000 in offshore bank accounts, I say. He's been hiding it for decades. Silence. I have proof, Mark. Bank statements, account numbers, everything. Mom, that's impossible. Dad doesn't have that kind of money. He does. And he's been pretending we're broke while sitting on $750,000. I don't believe you. Those 4 words hurt more than anything Frank has done to me. I know, I say. But you will. Soon. I hang up. 2 days later, Rebecca calls. We verified the accounts, she says. All 3 of them. Total balance as of last week, $723,000. Some of the money has been moved, like David said, but most of it's still there. Can we freeze them? We're working on it. It's complicated with offshore accounts, but yes, we can get court orders. How long? A week. Maybe 2. What if Frank moves more money in the meantime? Rebecca hesitates. That's a risk, which is why we need to act fast. I want to set up a confrontation, get him to confess on record, then serve him with papers before he can transfer anything else. When? Next week. I'll arrange everything. But Carol? Her voice softens. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Facing him. Making him answer for everything. Are you ready? I think about 50 years of lies. 50 years of working and sacrificing and believing I was building a life with someone who loved me. I think about Linda, dead at 61, her heart broken by the truth. I think about David, learning his father used him as a shield for stolen money. I think about Mark and Sarah, who still believe their father is a good man. I'm ready, I say. Comment, expose him if you believe Frank deserves to lose every penny he's hidden. Only thieves and embezzlers will defend him. If you've ever been told you're crazy for telling the truth, if you've ever been gaslit by someone you trusted, you know exactly what Carol is going through. Stand with her. Hit subscribe. Rebecca's office has a conference room on the 5th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Columbus. A long mahogany table. Leather chairs. It's where we're going to destroy Frank's life. I'm sitting at that table now with Rebecca, David, and a man I just met. James Chen, the private investigator Rebecca brought in. He's the one who traced the offshore accounts, who found the paper trail Frank thought he'd hidden so well. James spreads documents across the table like he's dealing cards. We have everything, he says. Forged signatures, hidden accounts, evidence of embezzlement from his former employer. I look up. Embezzlement? James nods. Your husband worked as an accountant for Morrison and Associates from 1983 to 2013. I pulled their old financial records, the ones that are public. Then I compared them to the deposits in his offshore accounts. He slides a spreadsheet toward me. For 15 years he was skimming money from client accounts. Small amounts, 30, 40, 50,000 a year. Not enough for anyone to notice immediately. But over time? How much total? David asks. $460,000. The room goes silent. Frank didn't just lie to us, didn't just hide money from his family. He stole from his clients, from people who trusted him with their life savings. Can we prove it? Rebecca asks. James taps the spreadsheet. Enough to make a criminal case. If Morrison and Associates wanted to press charges, he'd be looking at federal prison time. Rebecca turns to me. This changes things, Carol. If we threaten to expose the embezzlement, he'll give you everything. The offshore accounts, the house, everything. Do it, I say. We spend the next hour planning. Rebecca lays it out like a military operation. We tell Frank you want mediation, she says, that you're willing to work things out privately, without lawyers going to court. He'll jump at it. He wants to control this. He'll think I'm backing down, I say. Exactly. We'll give him an address, this conference room. Tell him to come alone. When he arrives, he'll find all of us here. You, David, me, James, and every piece of evidence we've gathered. David leans forward. What if he just walks out? He won't, Rebecca says, because we'll tell him we have 2 options ready. Option 1, he signs a settlement agreement giving Carol 80% of all marital assets, including the offshore accounts. Option 2, we file criminal charges for fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. He goes to prison. He'll choose the settlement, James says. Men like him always do. They'll sacrifice money to save their reputation. But I'm not sure Frank's reputation can be saved. Because there's one more part to the plan. I want Mark and Sarah to hear it, I say. Rebecca looks at me carefully. Hear what? Everything. The confession. The evidence. All of it. I take a breath. I want them on a conference call. Muted, so Frank doesn't know they're there. But listening. Because right now they think I'm crazy. They think I'm making this up. Carol, Rebecca says gently, if they hear this, it will destroy their image of their father. There's no coming back from that. Good, I say. They deserve to know who he really is. David reaches across the table, squeezes my hand. We're both about to burn down the father they thought they knew. That night, I text Frank. My hands are shaking as I type. Can we talk? Privately. I don't want this to get ugly. Let's meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll send you the address. Just you and me. No lawyers. I stare at the message for a full minute before hitting send. The reply comes in 30 seconds. Thank you, Carol. I knew you'd come around. I love you. See you tomorrow. I love you. 3 words that once meant everything. Now they just make me sick. I set my phone down. Look around the hotel room I've been living in for a week. Generic art on the walls, beige bedspread, everything temporary. This whole room feels like a metaphor for my life right now. Floating, unmoored. waiting for something solid to stand on again. Tomorrow, I'll have that solid ground, even if I have to build it from the rubble of my marriage. I can't sleep that night. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the last 50 years. I keep trying to pinpoint the moment Frank stopped loving me, if he ever loved me at all. Was it before we got married? Did he stand at that altar already thinking about Linda? Was it after Mark was born? After Sarah? Or was there never a real moment, just a slow fade, a gradual replacement of one life with another, so subtle I never noticed until it was too late? I think about all the nights I fell asleep next to him, believing I was safe, believing I was loved. I was sleeping next to a stranger. The thought makes me feel physically ill. At 3 a.m., I get up, make instant coffee in the little hotel room machine, sit by the window and watch the empty streets. Somewhere across town, Frank is sleeping in our bed, probably peaceful, probably confident he's going to talk me down tomorrow, convince me to drop this whole thing. He has no idea what's waiting for him. The next morning, I call Mark and Sarah. "Mom?" Sarah sounds worried. "Are you okay? I need you to do something for me," I say. "Both of you. And I need you to trust me." "Mom?" "Please, Sarah, just this once. I'm sending you a conference call link. I need you to join it at 2 p.m. today. Don't tell your father. Just listen." Silence. Then Mark's voice. "What's this about?" "You'll understand when you hear it. Please, I'm asking you to trust me. Can you do that?" Another long pause. "Okay," Mark says finally. "We'll listen. Thank you," I whisper. I hang up before I start crying. At 1:45 p.m., I'm back in Rebecca's conference room. David is already there. Rebecca. James. The table is covered with evidence, bank statements, letters, forged documents. 50 years of lies, organized into neat folders. Rebecca has set up a recording device. Everything he says will be recorded. We'll get his confession on tape. "Is that legal?" David asks. "Ohio is a one-party consent state," Rebecca says. "As long as one person in the room consents to recording, and Carol does, it's legal." James checks his watch. He'll be here in 10 minutes. I'm wearing the same dress I wore to our 30th anniversary. I don't know why. Maybe I want Frank to remember what he's losing. Or maybe I just want to look strong. Rebecca hands me a glass of water. "You ready?" I think about Linda, dying at 61 with a broken heart. I think about David, learning his whole relationship with his father was built on lies. I think about myself, working double shifts while Frank gambled away our future. "I'm ready," I say. At 2:01 p.m., there's a knock on the conference room door. Frank walks in. He's wearing his favorite cardigan, the blue one I gave him for Christmas 3 years ago. He's carrying flowers. Daisies, my favorite. When he sees everyone in the room, he stops. The smile dies on his face. "Carol?" He looks around. "What is this?" Rebecca stands. "Mr. Patterson, I'm Rebecca Santos, Carol's attorney. Please, sit down." Frank's eyes move from Rebecca to James to David. When he sees David, something flickers across his face. Fear, maybe, or anger. "Son?" he says. "What are you doing here?" "I'm not your son," David says quietly. "Not anymore." Frank sets the flowers on the table, tries to smile. "Carol, honey? I thought we were going to talk. Just the two of us." "Sit down, Frank," I say. It's the first time in 50 years I've used that tone with him. He sits. Rebecca slides a folder across the table. "We're going to show you some documents," she says. "And then you're going to make a choice." Frank looks at me. "Carol, what is this?" I don't answer. Rebecca opens the folder, and Frank's world starts to crumble. If you're ready to see Frank face justice, hit subscribe. Cowards like him won't. If you've ever had to gather evidence to prove you weren't crazy, that the lies were real, you understand what Carol has been through. Comment, "He deserves this," if you think Frank should lose everything. Rebecca places the first document in front of Frank. It's the forged will, the one leaving David 40% of our assets, the one with my signature, except I never signed it. "Mr. Patterson," Rebecca says, "is this your signature at the bottom of this document?" Frank glances at it. Yes. And is that your wife's signature next to yours? He hesitates, just for a second. Yes. That's interesting, Rebecca says, because Carol has never seen this document before, and a handwriting expert has confirmed that signature is forged. Frank's face goes pale. That's impossible. We discussed this. Carol, you remember? I've never seen that will, I say. My voice is steady. You forged my signature. No, you're confused. We talked about this. Rebecca places another document on the table. This is a credit card application from 1998, in Carol's name, with her forged signature. You used this card to charge $85,000 over 15 years. Another document. Bank statements showing you transferred $720,000 from your joint account to David over 30 years. Another. Offshore account records. 3 accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. Total balance. $723,000. Another. Records from Morrison and Associates showing financial discrepancies during your employment there. $460,000 embezzled from client accounts between 1998 and 2013. Rebecca keeps placing documents, one after another, until the table is covered with evidence. Frank stares at them. His hands are shaking. Where did you get these? He whispers. It doesn't matter where we got them, Rebecca says. What matters is they're real, and they prove you've committed fraud, forgery, embezzlement, and tax evasion. Frank looks at David. You gave this to her? His voice is rising. You betrayed me? David's jaw tightens. You told me Carol knew about me. You said she'd agreed to include me in the will. You've been lying to me my entire life. I was protecting you. You were using me. David slams his hand on the table. You stole money from Carol and gave it to me so I'd be grateful to you. So I'd be loyal. You made me complicit in your theft. Frank stands up. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Rebecca says sharply. Unless you want the FBI to hear all of this instead. Frank sits. Rebecca slides a settlement agreement across the table. You have 2 options, Mr. Patterson. Option 1. You sign this agreement. You give Carol 80% of all marital assets, including the offshore accounts. You admit to the forgery. The money you gave David was stolen. Carol won't pursue him for it, but you acknowledge it was fraud. In exchange, Carol won't press criminal charges. Frank's eyes dart to the document. 80%? That's option 2, Rebecca continues. We file criminal charges. Forgery, fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion. You're looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. The color drains from Frank's face. You're bluffing, he says, but his voice shakes. James speaks for the first time. We have everything we need, Mr. Patterson. Client names from Morrison and Associates. Account records proving you skimmed their money. The IRS will be very interested in those offshore accounts you never reported. Frank looks at me. Really looks at me. Carol, please, think about the kids. Think about our family. You can't do this to me. You did this to yourself, I say. I made mistakes. I know I did. But we can work through this. Mistakes? My voice is cold. You built a second family. You stole nearly $1 million. You forged my signature. You gambled away our retirement. Those aren't mistakes, Frank. That's a pattern. He reaches for my hand. I pull away. Don't touch me. Frank tries a different approach. Looks at David. Son, you know I love you. Tell her. Tell her I was just trying to take care of you. Stop calling me son, David says. You don't get to use me anymore. Frank's desperation is showing now. Carol, honey, I know you're angry, but think about Mark and Sarah. If you do this, you'll destroy them. They'll never forgive you. They'll never forgive you, I correct. Once they know the truth. Frank shakes his head. They won't believe you. I've already told them you're unstable, that you're making things up. They're listening, I say quietly. Frank freezes. What? Mark and Sarah. They're on a conference call. They've been listening this whole time. I watch the realization hit him. Watch his face go from pale to grey. Rebecca picks up her phone, taps the screen. Mark? Sarah? Are you there? We're here. Mark's voice comes through the speaker. Tight. Controlled. Sarah's voice is thick with tears. Dad? Is this true? Frank lunges for the phone. Kids, I can explain. Rebecca pulls it away. You can explain in a minute. First, I want to make sure they heard everything clearly. She looks at the phone. Mark, Sarah, your father forged your mother's signature on legal documents. He stole over $700,000 from their joint account. He gave that money to David while telling you the family couldn't afford to help you. He has $750,000 hidden in offshore accounts. He embezzled money from his clients. Do you understand what I just said? Silence. Then Mark's voice, barely controlled. I understand. Sarah is crying. You gave David $25,000 for his wedding. That same year, you told Mark you couldn't help him. You lied to his face. Sweetheart, it's complicated. Don't. Sarah's voice breaks. Don't call me sweetheart. Don't call me anything. Sarah, please. I defended you, she shouts. When Mom tried to tell us, I told her she was being paranoid. I made her feel crazy. You weren't crazy, Mom, Mark says. His voice is shaking. We should have believed you. I'm so sorry. I close my eyes. Tears slip down my cheeks. It's okay, I whisper. It's not okay, Mark says. Nothing about this is okay. Frank is standing now, pacing. You've destroyed our family, he says to me. I hope you're proud of yourself. You destroyed our family 50 years ago, I say. I'm just making sure you pay for it. Rebecca taps the settlement agreement. You have 60 seconds to decide, Mr. Patterson. Sign this or I call the FBI. Frank stares at the document. At me. At David. If I sign this, I lose everything. You should have thought of that before you forged Carol's signature, Rebecca says. 59 seconds. This is extortion. 45 seconds. Frank picks up the pen. His hand is shaking so badly he can barely hold it. I want you to know, he says to me, that I did love you. Once. Once wasn't enough, I say. He signs the document. Rebecca immediately takes it, checks the signature, slides it to her assistant, who's standing in the corner. Notarize this. Now. While the assistant notarizes, Frank stands, looks at David. I'm sorry, he says, for using you, for lying to you. I wanted to be a good father to you. You weren't, David says. You were just another liar. Frank nods slowly, turns to leave. One more thing, Rebecca says. Frank stops. Carol is filing a detailed report with Morrison and Associates about your embezzlement. Whether they press charges is up to them. But they will be informed. Frank's eyes widen. You said if I signed. I said Carol wouldn't press charges for the fraud against her. I didn't say anything about your former employer. Frank looks at me. Really looks at me. For the first time in 50 years, I see fear in his eyes. You've turned into someone I don't recognize, he says. Good, I say. Because the person you knew was too trusting, too forgiving. She's gone. Frank walks out of the conference room. The door closes behind him. I collapse into my chair. My whole body is shaking. David puts his hand on my shoulder. You did it. Rebecca's phone is still on speaker. Mark. Sarah. Are you both okay? No, Sarah says. She's still crying. But we will be. Mom? Are you there? I'm here, sweetheart. We're so sorry, Mark says. We should have trusted you. We should have… Stop, I say gently. You believed your father because he's spent your whole lives making you believe him. That's not your fault. Are you okay? Sarah asks. I look around the conference room, at the evidence spread across the table, at David, who's become an unexpected ally, at Rebecca, who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. No, I say honestly, but I will be. Can we see you? Mark asks. Please, we need to see you. Tomorrow, I say. Come to my hotel tomorrow. We'll talk. Okay. We love you, Mom. I love you too. Rebecca ends the call. James starts packing up the evidence. Morrison and Associates will definitely press charges, he says. With this much proof, your husband is looking at criminal prosecution even with the settlement. Good, I say. Rebecca sits down next to me. How do you feel? I think about the question. How do I feel? Relieved, exhausted, grief-stricken, furious, free, all of it at once. I feel like I can finally breathe, I say. David helps me stand. Come on, I'll walk you to your car. As we leave the building, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Frank. This isn't over. I show it to Rebecca. She smiles grimly. Yes, it is. He just doesn't know it yet. I delete the message. Because Frank is wrong. This is over. And I won. Comment, he deserves it, if you believe Frank should lose everything he's stolen. Only liars and cheaters will stay silent. If you've ever had to choose between staying quiet or fighting for the truth, and you chose truth, you understand Carol's courage. Hit subscribe if you believe justice matters more than keeping the peace. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my new condo overlooking downtown Columbus. It's Christmas Eve. The windows are open despite the cold, because I want to hear the city, the car horns, the distant church bells, the sound of life happening all around me. For 50 years I lived in silence, in the careful quiet of keeping peace, of not asking questions, of pretending everything was fine. I'm done with silence. My condo is smaller than the house Frank and I shared. 2 bedrooms instead of 4, but it's mine. Paid for entirely with money from the settlement. Money Frank tried to hide. Money he never thought I'd find. The final count was $192,000. The house sold for $320,000. Frank wanted to keep it, but the settlement gave me the right to sell. I did, within a month. The offshore accounts, $745,000. Every penny frozen, then transferred to my name. Our retirement fund, $127,000. What little Frank hadn't stolen or gambled away. I gave Frank exactly what the settlement required, 20%. He got $230 out $400 and his pension. He's living in a 1-bedroom apartment on the east side now. I don't feel sorry for him. The fallout was exactly as brutal as I'd hoped. Morrison and Associates pressed charges for embezzlement. Frank pled guilty to avoid a trial. His lawyer convinced him he'd lose. The judge gave him 3 years probation and ordered him to repay $400,000. He'll be paying that debt until the day he dies. The story made the Columbus Dispatch. Not front page, but page 3 of the local section. Retired accountant pleads guilty to embezzlement. Fraud. I have the article framed in my kitchen. Frank's photo is there, looking older than I remember. Smaller, somehow. The caption lists his crimes in neat, factual language. Everyone knows now. The neighbours, his former colleagues, the people at church who used to shake his hand every Sunday. They all know what he is, and I know what I am. Free. There's a knock at my door. Mark and Sarah arrive first, carrying dishes for dinner. Mark has a green bean casserole. Sarah made her grandmother's apple pie, my mother's recipe. They hug me. Long, tight hugs that say all the things we've been trying to say to each other for 3 months. Mum, Sarah whispers, I'm so sorry for everything. Stop apologizing, I tell her. We've been through this. But she's apologized 100 times. So has Mark. I've forgiven them 100 times. I understand why they believed Frank. He spent 50 years teaching them to trust him. You can't undo that kind of conditioning overnight. But they're here now. And that's what matters. 10 minutes later, there's another knock. I open the door to find David, his wife Jennifer, and their 2 teenagers. Grandma Carol! David's daughter, Emma, hugs me. Grandma Carol. That's what David's kids call me now. At first I told them they didn't have to, that I wasn't really their grandmother. But David said, You're more of a grandmother to them than Frank ever was a father to me. So I let them call me Grandma. And it feels right. We sit down to dinner together. 8 of us around my new dining table. Mark, Sarah, David, Jennifer, and 4 grandchildren who finally know the truth about their family. There's no head of the table. No empty chair where Frank used to sit. This is a different kind of family now. Sarah raises her glass. To Mum, the strongest woman we know. To Grandma Carol, Emma adds. We toast, we eat, we laugh. For the first time in 50 Christmases, I'm not watching the clock. not waiting for someone to disappear, not wondering where the real celebration is happening. This is the real celebration. Right here. Mark asks about my trip to Italy. I'm leaving in a week, taking all of them with me. 2 weeks in Rome, Florence, Venice. The trip Frank and I were always planning, but never took. I'm taking it now, with my real family. I can't believe we're actually going, Sarah says. I've always wanted to see the Colosseum. Your grandmother would have loved this, I say. She always wanted to travel. I used part of the settlement to make that happen. Not just the Italy trip. Everything I should have been able to do years ago. I paid off Mark's mortgage, $85,000. He cried when I told him. I paid off Sarah's mortgage, $95,000. She asked if I was sure I could afford it. I showed her my bank statements. She cried too. I set up college funds for all the grandchildren, Mark's 3 kids, Sarah's 2, and David's 2. $200,000 total, divided equally. Because David's children are my grandchildren too. And I donated $50,000 to a women's shelter in Linda's name. She deserved better than what Frank gave her. This won't bring her back. Won't undo the 50 years she spent loving a liar. But maybe it'll help other women. Women who are trapped. Women who don't know how to leave. Women like I was 3 months ago. After dinner, I'm washing dishes when there's a knock at the door. Mark answers it. I hear his voice, sharp and angry. What are you doing here? I dry my hands, walk to the door. Frank is standing in the hallway. He looks terrible, thinner, older. His coat is worn at the elbows. He's holding an envelope. Carol, he says. Please, I just need 5 minutes. No, Mark says. You need to leave. Frank ignores him, looks at me. I wrote you a letter. Everything I should have said 50 years ago. Please, just read it. He holds out the envelope. I look at it. At him. For a moment. Just a moment. I feel something like pity. Then I remember. I remember working double shifts while he gambled our money away. I remember my mother's inheritance, gone to David's college fund. I remember 50 Christmases alone while he lived his real life somewhere else. The pity vanishes. I take the envelope. Frank's face lights up with hope. I hand it back to him, unopened. I don't need your apology, Frank. Carol, please. I don't need your explanation. I don't need closure from you. I don't need anything from you ever again. His hand drops. You can't mean that. After 50 years. After 50 years, I interrupt. I finally understand something. You don't know what love is. And you know what? Neither did I. But I'm learning. David appears behind me, puts his hand on my shoulder. Frank sees him, and something breaks in his expression. You've turned my own son against me, he says. He's not your son anymore, I say gently. You made sure of that. Frank looks at all of us, standing together. A wall between him and the family he destroyed. Can I at least come in? He asks. It's Christmas. No, I say. Just that. No explanation. No apology. Just no. I close the door. Through the peephole, I watch Frank stand there for a long moment. Then he walks away, shoulders slumped, carrying his unread letter. I don't feel sad. I don't feel guilty. I feel light. Sarah comes up beside me. Are you okay? I'm perfect, I say, and I mean it. We return to the table for dessert. Emma asks, Grandma, who was that at the door? I could lie. Could say it was nobody. A mistake. But I'm done with lies. That was your grandfather, Frank, I tell her. He wanted to apologize. Did you forgive him? She asks. I think about the question. Really think about it. Forgiveness. That's what everyone expects, isn't it? The gracious wife. The understanding woman. The person who rises above and lets bygones be bygones. But forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation, and I can forgive Frank for being broken. I just don't have to let him break me anymore. I'm working on forgiving him, I tell Emma, but that doesn't mean I have to let him back into my life. Mark nods. That's healthy, Mum. Sarah cuts the pie. To new traditions? To fresh starts. We eat apple pie and drink coffee and talk about Italy. Outside my window, snow begins to fall, the first snow of the season. It's beautiful. Later, after everyone leaves, I stand at the window. My reflection looks back at me, 72 years old, grey hair, laugh lines, hands that have worked hard for 5 decades. But the eyes looking back are different now, stronger, clearer. For 50 years, I measured my worth by how well I kept the peace, how perfectly I played the role of wife and mother, how little I complained. I thought that's what love was: sacrifice without reciprocation, silence without questions. I was wrong. Love isn't about making yourself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. Love isn't about working yourself to exhaustion while someone else hoards resources. Love isn't about pretending you don't see the lies. Real love, the kind I'm learning now, is about seeing yourself clearly, valuing yourself honestly, standing up when staying silent would be easier. Frank thought I'd forgive him, thought I'd take him back, thought I needed him. He was wrong about all of it. I don't need closure from him. I don't need an apology. I don't need anything from him ever again, because I already have everything I need. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Rebecca. "Merry Christmas, Carol. You did it. You won." I text back. "We did it. Thank you." Another text, this time from David. "Thank you for including us tonight. My kids are so happy to have you as their grandmother." I smile. This is what family is supposed to feel like. Not obligation, not performance, just love. Simple and honest. I look at my calendar. 1 week until Italy. 1 week until I step onto a plane and fly to a place I've dreamed about for 40 years. Frank stole a lot from me, but he didn't steal this. He didn't steal my ability to start over. He didn't steal my dignity. He didn't steal my worth. Those things were always mine. I just forgot for a while. I turn off the lights. Get ready for bed. Tomorrow is Christmas. My first Christmas in 50 years without Frank, and I can't wait. People have asked me if I regret following him that morning, if I wish I'd stayed in blissful ignorance. Never. Not for 1 second. Because the truth set me free. It hurt. God, it hurt. But the pain was worth it. I'm 72 years old, and I finally know what I'm worth. And it's more than any man could ever give me or take away. Frank thought he could control the narrative, thought he could make me the villain, thought I'd back down to save face. He underestimated me. A lot of people underestimate women my age. They think we're fragile, confused, easy to manipulate. They're wrong. We're the generation that survived everything. We know how to fight. And when we finally decide to stop being quiet, we're unstoppable. So here's what I want you to know. If you're listening to this story, if someone is lying to you, trust your instincts. If someone is stealing from you, fight back. If someone makes you feel crazy for telling the truth, walk away. You deserve better. You deserve honesty, respect, real love, and it's never too late to demand it. I'm 72 years old, and I'm just getting started. Tomorrow, I'm spending Christmas with people who actually love me. Next week, I'm going to Italy. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to do exactly what I want, when I want, without asking permission or apologizing. That's a gift Frank never gave me in 50 years of marriage. But it's the gift I've finally given myself. Merry Christmas to me, and to everyone else who's ever had the courage to choose themselves. We deserve it. If you believe people like Carol deserve justice and freedom, hit that subscribe button right now. If you think liars like Frank should never get a second chance, comment "No reconciliation." If you've ever had to choose between staying silent or standing up for yourself, and you chose yourself, comment "I stand with Carol." Only manipulators, cheaters, and liars like Frank will stay silent. Don't be like Frank. Be like Carol. Stand up. Speak out. Take back your life. You're worth it. In the meantime, on the final screen, I'm leaving you with 2 of the channel's most beloved stories. I'm sure they will surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until now.